Our little project, our company, had a very big night. A very, very big night. But it wasn't complete. It wasn't nearly close to being in the same vicinity as complete. Because I couldn't share it with you. I love you. You complete me.
All right, let's all say it. Oh, yeah, we heard that line a little earlier. That was, of course, the famous line, "You complete me," from the movie Jerry Maguire. But that concept can be a real trap in some relationships. Here to elaborate on that and some other pitfalls, please welcome back to the show certified sex therapist and relationship expert Emily deAyala, and the co-author of Divorceless Relationships and Being You, Changing the World, Dr. Dain here. And if you have a relationship question, you know the phone number, 713-284-1055, 713-284-1055. Okay, I remember when this was first said, therapists around the world went, well, now, wait a minute, right? And so "you complete me" can mean certain things, but it's also one of those things that you kind of take with a red flag.
Agreed. I think when you're with a person, they should expand on who you are, not fill a void necessarily.
Yeah.
And I think keeping that in mind can really enhance the relationship as opposed to becoming too enmeshed with each other.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would agree.
Absolutely. And yet we have this romantic ideal that's out there that we keep trying to fit into, even when it's not the most successful possibility or choice for a relationship.
Yeah, but for so long we've heard that when you get married, you become one.
Yes.
And I always just kind of had in my head, it's like, no, you're two people.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And the thing is, if you were one before you got together and now you've become one, have you actually gained anything, or have you actually lost something?
1 + 1 = 1. Yeah.
It's the new math.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so divorceless relationships.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, basically, a divorceless relationship is a relationship where you don't start cutting off parts of you to make the relationship work.
Yeah.
I've seen so many people and worked with so many people, as I'm sure you have also, Emily, where I used to enjoy, rock climbing, but now that I'm with my husband, I don't do it anymore. No, those are things that actually contribute to you. And we have so many things outside of our relationship that if we'd allowed them to contribute to us again, would start creating it so that rather than divorcing ourselves in relationship, we can actually have ourselves and have a better relationship.
Yeah, the adding to thing we talked about. But so many people, I got to tell you, my first few relationships, I didn't know what one was supposed to look like. My parents are still married, but they weren't very affectionate. They didn't say, "I love you." I didn't really know what I was supposed to do. So I did that. I was like, I would downplay any of my interest and just completely immerse myself in their interest. And sooner or later, that can also backfire because a person's like, get your own life.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right?
And not just in terms of activity level, but emotionally as well. There's a concept called differentiation, which basically means, do you have the ability to both be autonomous and independent, be able to stand on your own 2 feet, while at the same time having a strong connection to another person.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be either or. It's not like you have to move along the spectrum. You can do both at the same time if you're a healthy person.
Now, sometimes
with another healthy
we see
person.
these unhealthy
Yes.
relationships where you have the narcissist, for example, where the world revolves around me. And then you'll find that person who's with someone who goes, the world revolves around them. So it works, but it doesn't work. And eventually you see how couples can come in and say, been married 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, and it just suddenly fell apart. Most of the time it doesn't suddenly fall apart.
It didn't. It's kind of this very gradual and sometimes very subtle, which makes it scary, chipping away at the other person to where suddenly a day comes where they just feel like they can't tolerate it anymore. And when they look back, some of the characteristics that we see in narcissism, they can be very controlling, very demeaning. They tend to get very critical of their partner. There's the obvious kind of self-absorption. They make the rules, they break the rules, they are very entitled. So those are the kinds of things you want to look for, especially early in the relationship, because when I start talking to people, a lot of times they'll say, well, in hindsight, yeah, there were some signs. We always ate at the restaurants he wanted to eat at, and when I would make a suggestion, he would say, "Oh, why are you?" They would make them feel bad about them for having an opinion, and so eventually the voice gets muted.
Yeah.
I think that's where the destruction occurs. When your own voice gets muted in the relationship, that's where you've divorced yourself from the relationship. And who are you being, and what are you doing it for? You know, and if you're with somebody with these characteristics, the thing that I've noticed is the person that's attracted to somebody who's a narcissist usually has something going on themselves where it's like, oh, cool, I'll let them take charge, or they have an insecurity within themselves or a blanket of insecurities within themselves that create that in the first place.
Actually, both of them have that blanket of insecurity.
Absolutely.
All right, we have Beverly on the phone. Good morning, Beverly.
Good morning.
What's your question or comment?
My question is, I'm a little older, and I just started back dating or want to date. My question is, he gave me his number. Should I call him, or should I wait for him to call me?
Now, did he give you his number because he's being respectful that, you know, oftentimes women might kind of say, you know, I don't really want to give you my number. And so was he being respectful in that way, or did he give you his number in a kind of arrogant way?
No, he was very, very nice. Very nice. He caught my attention. I didn't catch his. He caught my attention.
Okay.
And
so
I don't know what...
Today's a little different.
True story.
Yeah, sometimes we have like these society rules, but do they really ever make any sense? If you're a proper lady, you don't this, you know. Really?
Exactly. And in 2015, I mean, it's not even 2014 anymore. We've gone beyond that. So my point of view would be, call him. Hey, you know, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
It'll either work or it won't.
Sure. True, but I do think that some of the old school rules do still apply. You know, I think that there's just some evolutionary characteristics that are in men and that are in women. There are some gender differences.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, in this case, I think it would be fine to call, but then I would let him take the initiative to
plan the
ask you
date
out
or something.
And to plan the date.
Yeah. So call and say, hey, remember me? And then, like, make him say, so why don't we go out?
Exactly.
I think Emily makes a really good point. There are these evolutionary characteristics, but you have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely.
So with her asking in her situation with this man who asked in this way, then go ahead and call him.
Yeah.
Another situation might not be so cut and dry.
Yeah, because I think a lot of men today, they feel like women are, you know, sometimes we want to be safe or careful about, you know, calling. So he offered you can make that first move, and, and that way he knows you're really interested.
To make her feel more comfortable.
Yeah. All right. Well, Emily and Dr. here are sticking around to take more of your calls. Whatever your relationship dilemma is, give us a call, 713-284-1055.